Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to reInvent Day 1. How's everybody feeling so far? Great? Awesome. Well, thank you for coming and joining us this afternoon to our session. Let's just start with a couple questions here. So, how many of you, by the show of hands in the room, they are either thinking of modernizing your SAP environment or have already kind of started that journey? Yeah, there's a few here, a couple here. Awesome. And then what about your non-SAP workload? Have anybody started looking into migrating to cloud as well? Yeah? Perfect. So my name is Shafli, and I'm the Senior Solutions Architect Manager. And today we also have two gentlemen here, Harjot Kaura, Senior Solution Architect, and then we also have Noah Parker, Solution Architect. So we're going to talk today about how to build your secure foundation that you need for the migration of your SAP Rise and non-SAP workload. Okay, and this is part of the NTA318 session that we have here. So at the end of the session today, you're going to learn about how to set up your AWS Cloud Foundations. And we're going to talk and discuss topics such as migration strategies. What do you need to consider when it comes to resiliency and your disaster recovery? We're also going to talk a little bit about what about your network connection options coming into AWS? And what do you need to do to have a secure environment for your workloads? So, customer with on-prem SAP environment have to deal with multiple commercial constructs. And you also have to deal with multiple support contracts. And each of these support contracts have their respective SLA. And customer also have to deal with undifferentiated heavy lifting of the infrastructure management. So, as customer looked into SAP Rise, compared to the on-prem deployment of SAP, Rise is basically represents a simple commercial construct. So what is Rise? Rise with SAP on AWS stands for a comprehensive business transformation offering that brings together SAP S/4HANA Private Cloud, AWS infrastructure, and the managed services into a single solution. So think of it really as a SAP cloud platform delivered as a managed service. So as customer look into moving to SAP Rise, it comes with infrastructure management, software support, and also technical managed service. Essentially, what this does is allow customers to shift valuable resources away from the traditional infrastructure management and the health and caring and feeding to those resources into what's truly important for the business. And that also allows the customer to look into business innovation with those resources. Now, working with thousands of customers like yourself, we are seeing customers dealing with a wide variety of challenges. Customers are looking for solutions to better your business. And you could be strategizing on how do you transform your business to stay competitive in today's market. Maybe you're looking to enhance your customer service, right? Or maybe you're looking to optimize your supply chain. Or maybe you want to become a data-driven organization. So customers could also be dealing with compelling events, such as cost-cutting objectives, maybe data center exit or consolidation, workloads or system consolidation because of mergers and acquisition in your business. Maybe you're dealing with end-of-life support that's coming up for either hardware or software. Or maybe you're simply looking for ways to be innovative and innovate with services like Gen AI. So regardless of what those drivers might be, modernizing a mission-critical workload like SAP in the cloud will allow you to address these business challenges and also make these transformative improvements within your business. Now let's talk about cloud migration strategy here. So when you look into the cloud migration strategy, there are really a few areas you need to consider. First is what will be your migration strategy from your on-prem SAP environment into Rise. And this would be an SAP managed AWS environment. The next one you want to think about would be, what about your non-SAP workload? What about your mission-critical non-SAP workload but have dependencies on SAP? Now, you need to have a migration strategy for those workloads, and those will be looking into migrating to AWS in a customer-managed environment. So Harjot will talk about the consideration of those two and when it comes to things like connectivity and stuff like that. So with those non-SAP workload migration, there are additional things you want to consider, the 7 R's of migration strategies. And these would be rehost, relocate, replatform, refactor, repurchase, maybe retain, or even retire. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an example of what I mean by all those, the 7 R's. Your on-prem SAP ECC environment, you need to transform to Rise. Your CRM, your EWM components, those need to be replaced with S4. Your BW or non-HANA, those you need to repurchase with DataSphere. So within your environment, you might have Vertex, PLM. Those you might need to either rehost or refactor onto AWS native services. I'm pretty sure in your environment, you probably would have some sort of a custom application within your environment. Those you need to either consider to either retain or maybe even retire as part of the journey. So those will be the things that you want to consider when it comes to thinking about your cloud migration strategy for your SAP and non-SAP workload. Mondelez International is a food and beverage company in the US. They have went through a very similar journey as well. So with them, they had to deal with fragmented SAP infrastructure environment. They were dealing with over 80 production SAP IDs. And Mondelez, what they did was they chose to go Rise with SAP on AWS because they believe AWS provide the most secure and reliable cloud platform for their mission-critical SAP workload. And this is also in alignment with their migration strategy of their non-SAP mission-critical workload onto AWS as well. So as a result of that migration, of that journey, Mondelez International were able to achieve consistent operational support, and they were able to run their workload with best-in-class security, resiliency, and reliability. Sean Tibor, the Director of Global Cloud Engineering at Mondelez quotes. By leveraging AWS, it allowed them to achieve greater security, agility, and reliability for their operations. Now let's look into what you need to do to build a strong AWS cloud foundation for your migration. Having a strong AWS cloud foundation is critical to the long-term success of your environment achieving security, reliability, and resiliency. So let's take a closer look at that. One thing we do see that's very common for customer that's coming or familiar with on-prem environment, customer typically will start with 3 large AWS accounts. And this will be a dev, a staging, and a production account. Now, this approach, over time and very quickly, are going to be running into complication. In the sense of, as customers start launching more workload into these 3 accounts, or giving more and more teams access to these environments, it becomes harder and harder for customer to really isolate the workloads. And customer will run into challenges, such as very complex IAM policies. They're also going to maybe run into IP exhaustion. And the separation between billings, between the accounts or teams, it's going to be a big challenge for them. So with this approach, there's also no environments where customer could give access to the developer an environment where they could experiment without running into the risk of potential impacting a workload or maybe a project. So what we suggest would be, as a best practice, to create an AWS account, 1 account for each team, and that way it's essentially allow customer to create an absolute blast radius in terms of impact from a security and billing perspective. Now, let's take a look at how we start by doing that. First, we're going to start with an AWS account. This will be the foundational container where your AWS services and resources will reside. On top of that, we're going to have the AWS Control Tower. AWS Control Tower provides the initial multi-account structure for the landing zone. It will also create and deploy an account factory that allows you to quickly create AWS accounts. It will configure the initial organizational structure unit for your environment, as well as it will configure preventative and detective guardrails for your environment. AWS Control Tower enabled agility and governance for your environment by bringing things like landing zone. And landing zone is your best practices and lessons learned for your environment. It will also help to centralize identity and access logging. And this is very crucial as you accelerate and grow in your environment. It will automate the compliant account provisioning, as well as establishing controls for your workloads. And this will be maybe a preventative control, maybe a detective control, or a proactive control. For some of you, you might be in a regulated industry where you might need help with establishing some of these controls in your environment. So don't worry, we do have teams within AWS that we can come and help you to establish some of these controls as well. So as customers start looking to leverage infrastructure as code and to execute faster, it is crucial to making sure that teams are being compliant as they execute and move faster in the environment. Now, in addition to Control Tower, what if customers that you need help with additional things? Maybe you want to integrate into additional AWS services like security services. Maybe you want to look into leveraging a DevOps pipeline that will allow you to do tighter, configuration management. So with that, we do have the landing zone accelerator on AWS from our professional service team. So as you look into creating your landing zone or maybe writing code for a landing zone, don't feel like you have to do this by yourself. There's actually a lot of helps that we have available. Obviously, from our professional service team, you can also get guidance from our solution architects, or maybe leverage one of our AWS partners as well to give you a hand. Now, for customers that are looking for additional guidance for Rise with SAP, we also provide step-by-step guidance on connectivity and best practices for hybrid network design. We also do provide support for SAP-specific security requirements. Now, with that, I'm going to pass over to Harjot, where he's going to cover the SAP Rise architecture and integration. Harjot?
Thank you. Let's explore architecture and integration patterns that connect SAP Rise environment on AWS with broader enterprise infrastructure. Getting connectivity right is fundamental to a successful implementation. AWS provides 4 primary connectivity options for SAP Rise environment, each optimized for different requirements. Starting with AWS Direct Connect. It provides consistent network performance with dedicated bandwidth at low latency. You can choose a dedicated connection from 1, 10, 100, or 400 gigabits per second that supports multiple virtual interfaces. Or you can also choose from an AWS partner-hosted connection ranging from 50 Mbps up to 25 gigabits per second. With over 130 plus AWS Direct Connect locations globally, you can design redundant connections for high availability. Moving to AWS Site-to-Site VPN. It's a cost-effective, quick-to-deploy connectivity option for SAP Rise environment. Traffic is inspected using IPsec with bandwidth now up to 5 gigabits per second per VPN tunnel. Additionally, you can combine this option with AWS Direct Connect for redundant connectivity. For customers with existing AWS landing zones, AWS Transit Gateway provides the scalability you need, and it comes with several key advantages. You can combine or aggregate multiple VPN tunnels for higher throughput using ECMP. It supports up to 5,000 routes advertised through Customer Gateway, which is significantly more than Virtual Private Gateway. Migration from AWS VPN Gateway to AWS Transit Gateway is straightforward, and it fully supports both IPv4 and IPv6 traffic. Finally, internet connectivity for external users and mobile access. You can inspect incoming connections using AWS Web Application Firewall, and additionally, you can route incoming traffic to SAP Web Dispatcher using AWS Application Load Balancer, and the traffic is encrypted using TLS 1.2 or higher. Let's dive deep into AWS Direct Connect. We start with on-premise corporate data center. In this architecture, we have two sites, Site A and Site B, representing office locations where users or workloads are located. From here, we connect to AWS Direct Connect locations. Now, these are physical sites where customers' network equipment connects with AWS network equipment. Now, notice we have two separate AWS Direct Connect sites here. This dual site architecture is a best practice as it provides redundancy in case one site faces any issues, the traffic can be routed from the other. From here, we are in the AWS cloud environment using AWS Global Backbone Network. In this architecture, we have single AWS region with two separate AWS accounts, each with distinct purpose. The first is customer managed AWS account. This is where your non-SAP, non-Rise workloads are hosted. Now, this could be your cloud applications, your IoT applications, data lakes, or any other analytics applications. This account also has an AWS Transit Gateway, which acts as a central connectivity hub, connecting multiple VPCs with on-premise corporate network. The other is SAP Managed AWS account. Now, this is where your Rise environment lives. The AWS Transit Gateway in the customer managed AWS account connects to the SAP Rise VPC in this SAP managed AWS accounts and also integrates with on-premise corporate network. The AWS Transit Gateway VPC attachment to the SAP managed AWS account delivers predictable performance with dedicated bandwidth, which is important for your mission-critical SAP landscape while maintaining clear separation across your hybrid environment. But there is more to this architecture. Notice the connectivity from SAP Rise environment to third-party SaaS applications, SAP BTP, and other external integration. These connections leverage AWS global network, which means low latency, high bandwidth, secure connectivity without traversing over public internet for most of the journey. This architecture is important as it shows how your SAP Rise environment connects across your hybrid enterprise landscape. Let's take a look at AWS site-to-site VPN. We have on-premise corporate locations and a customer gateway, which represents firewall or router through which we established two secure IPsec tunnels to AWS cloud environment. Now, these two IPsec tunnels use 256-bit AES encryption, which ensures secure connectivity over public internet. The VPN terminates at AWS Transit Gateway in the customer managed AWS account, which then further connects with SAP Rise VPC in the SAP managed AWS account. Similar to direct connect pattern, This architecture also leverages AWS Global Network for external connectivity. Choosing the right connectivity option depends upon your existing network architecture, your existing infrastructure, or any specific requirements you might have. AWS has a decision tree that guides you through key considerations while selecting the right connectivity option. Let's take a look at the decision tree. Start by evaluating whether you have existing AWS infrastructure or account, or any other applications running on AWS, or you plan to modernize your SAP landscape on AWS in the future. For organizations without existing AWS infrastructure, they can connect directly to SAP Rise VPC. On this path, you need to decide whether you need a dedicated connection or not. If you do not need a dedicated connection and your bandwidth requirements exceeds beyond 1.25 gigabits per second, AWS side-to-side VPN with eCMP provides the scalability you need. Otherwise, you can go ahead with AWS side-to-side VPN for cost-effective secure connectivity. If you do need a dedicated line and also require encryption, then VPN over AWS Direct Connect is the optimal choice. Otherwise, AWS Direct Connect can be used to connect to any AWS regions directly. Now let's take a look at the other half. If you are planning for broader AWS adoption, then AWS Transit Gateway based solutions are the right choice, and they provide the scalability you might need. Now, on this path, the first thing you need to decide is whether you're going to go ahead with more than one VPCs in your AWS account. For single VPC scenarios, AWS Transit Gateway in the customer managed AWS account can be used in the same AWS region where Rise environment is also deployed. For multi-account scenarios or multi-account VPC scenarios, you need to decide whether you require SAP to provide AWS Transit Gateway in the Rise region for cross-region connectivity to your AWS cloud environment. Now, if that's the case, then SAP provides the Transit Gateway. Otherwise, you can go ahead with AWS landing zone implementation and use AWS Transit Gateway in your customer managed account and connect to the Rise environment. Now, I know it looks complex at first glance, and you might be thinking, how do I decide which path is right for my organizations? The good news is you don't have to navigate this alone. AWS has specialist network and SAP solution architects who work with SAP Rise customers every day, and they'll guide you on the decision tree based on your requirements, which could be your existing network architecture, your bandwidth requirements, any security considerations, or any future growth plans you might have. Let's take a look at operating model for SAP Rise on AWS. This model defines key responsibilities across critical parties in the Rise ecosystem. As we know, SAP Rise is a fully managed landscape, and this stack defines exactly who manages what. Right at the bottom from the AWS infrastructure all the way up to the business applications at the top. Now, at the top, we have customers and partner responsible for application layer. This includes application and change management, any functional support, SAP basis application support. The green layer represents the connectivity. That's the shared responsibility between SAP and the customer. Further down, we have SAP responsible for application landscape and hosting. This includes operating system and database maintenance, SAP basis infrastructure support, backup management. And at the bottom, we have AWS responsible for resilience of the cloud. That includes physical infrastructure, the hardware maintenance, and the data centers. Let me show you how this model aligns with AWS shared security and responsibility model, which forms the foundations of compliance and security. AWS is responsible for security and resilience of the cloud. This means we do the undifferentiated heavy lifting of the physical infrastructure. That includes the compute, storage, networking, AWS regions, AWS availability zones, and the edge locations, all the services that form up the AWS cloud. SAP and the customer are responsible for resilience and security in the cloud. That includes identity access and configuration management, data, and any functional support. SAP Rise SI partner are responsible for migration of SAP applications into the Rise environment. With this clear demarcation of responsibilities and roles, everyone is aware of the responsibilities, which helps to ensure critical migration paths and journeys. Now, with connectivity established, operating model clear, let's take a look at AWS resilience capabilities for SAP Rise environment. AWS has extensive resilience capabilities for SAP Rise and BTP customers. We provide highly secure private network interconnecting SAP Rise, BTP, AWS, and third-party services. With SAP Rise available across multiple AWS regions globally, we offer broad geographic footprint that helps our customers to meet their data residency and data sovereignty requirements. Both long-distance DR and short-distance DR options are available for our customers, which helps them to take resilience strategies into picture. With low latency, high performance network between Rise and BTP, we offer optimal integration performance. Let's now take a look at some of the backup capabilities. SAP on AWS uses encrypted Amazon EBS volumes and backups by default. AWS backend agent for SAP HANA delivers automated backups with comprehensive backup retention and compliance capabilities to meet regulatory requirements. AWS Lifecycle Management helps to ensure storage optimization while maintaining data protection integrity. For your broader enterprise environment beyond SAP Rise, AWS Backup Service provides centralized data protection capabilities. It's a fully managed service that includes centralized backup management, data retention, and compliance monitoring capabilities. Key features include ransomware recovery with logically air-gapped walls, integration with AWS KMS for encryption, and cross-account management using AWS organizations. Additionally, you can use AWS Backup Audit Manager that helps to audit and monitor your data protection activities to meet your compliance requirements. Now, we know that backups are essential, but they are just one part of a comprehensive disaster recovery strategy. Let's take a look at disaster recovery patterns for SAP Rise environment on AWS. SAP Rise on AWS supports two disaster recovery patterns. The first is short distance DR. It uses synchronous replication between primary and secondary applications within same AWS region but across separate availability zones. It uses synchronous replication to provide zero RPO, which means zero data loss for your mission critical SAP landscape. The other is long distance DR. It uses asynchronous replication between primary and secondary systems across separate AWS regions. But importantly, you can deploy your application servers across separate availability zones in this primary AWS region for regional resilience capabilities. This option provides RPO in minutes while balancing between data protection and regional disaster recovery capabilities. For your broader application landscape, AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery supports multiple deployment patterns. Now, it could be from on-premise to AWS, within AWS regions, within AWS availability zones, or from other platforms to AWS. AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery minimizes downtime and data loss while using continuous block level replication. It uses a staging area for storage with minimal compute and provides point-in-time recovery from which you can launch recovery instances on AWS within minutes. In this architecture, we have source servers on which AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery replication agents are deployed, continuously replicating at the block level to a staging area in another region. Now, this connectivity is over a secure channel. Enterprise disaster recovery often requires multi-account architecture. This architecture shows how AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery supports recovery across multiple AWS accounts. You can have replication into a staging area in an account, but have recovery into a completely different AWS account. This could be based on your requirements and needs, which could be an actual production recovery, an isolated DR drill, or a recovery for only investigation and audit purpose. This account level isolation ensures data protection and multi-account support. Now, let us take a look at security capabilities that help to ensure your SAP Rise environment is fully protected along with enterprise landscape. At this point, I'll request Noah to continue the session. Noah.
Thanks, Raghu. Security is the foundation of everything we do at AWS. It's not just a feature, it's built into our DNA. Our core infrastructure satisfies the security requirements for military operations, global banks, and other high-sensitivity organizations. This means that you get the same enterprise-grade security whether you're a startup or a Fortune 500 company. Using Rise with SAP on AWS, you'll be able to leverage the security benefits of Nitro-based EC2 instances. Traditionally, the hypervisor protects the physical hardware and BIOS, while also virtualizing the CPU, storage, and networking. With the Nitro system, these functions are fragmented into independent, purpose-built processor units known as Nitro cards. Nitro cards offload these tasks to dedicated hardware and software, and in doing so, reduce costs, provide performance benefits, and increase the security and isolation of virtualized resources. By design, the Nitro system has no operator access. There's no mechanism for any system or person to log into an EC2 Nitro host and access the memory or access any customer data on local or remote volumes. On top of this, every boot sequence is cryptographically validated, and updates can be applied without interrupting what's most important to you and your customers. Using Rise with SAP on AWS, your SAP and non-SAP accounts will be separated, with data in all accounts secured. In your Rise with SAP account, encryption at rest is the default for data stored in file, block, or object storage. Additionally, you'll be equipped with immutable backups powered by Amazon S3. In transit, data is encrypted using mutual TLS encryption, which offers enhanced authentication and security for network communications versus traditional TLS. This offers enhanced protection for your sensitive workloads and applications. Additionally, SAP offers Firewall as a Service, enabling you to inspect traffic between subnets and tiers in your Rise environment. And with options for both short and long-range disaster recovery, you'll be capable of choosing the strategy which works best for you and your organization. In your non-SAP accounts, you could take advantage of our managed security offerings and let us handle the undifferentiated heavy lifting. For encryption at rest, AWS Key Management Service enables you to create, control, and manage encryption keys securely at scale to protect data across all of your applications and workloads and maintain regulatory compliance, all while maintaining complete control over who accesses your keys and when. In transit, AWS CloudFront enables you to provide secure content delivery to your users closer to them with encryption between users, edge locations, and origins. With AWS Network Firewall, you can perform deep packet inspection, filtering, and monitoring across all of your networks at scale, allowing you to focus on managing threats instead of managing infrastructure. And using AWS Web Application Firewall, you'll be able to mitigate malicious bots and actors in real time. For all of these offerings, AWS provides multiple connectivity options to connect to your existing infrastructure, providing speed, redundancy, regardless of where your data is coming from. With new connectivity comes new security challenges. Inspecting north-south traffic is critical to ensure your data is protected and your resources remain safe from malicious injection attacks. But misconfigurations can lead to sensitive data being compromised and east-west traffic flows as well. In traditional on-premises deployments, firewalls are positioned at the network perimeter for north-south inspection and internally for east-west inspection. AWS Gateway Load Balancer facilitates both of these inspection models using endpoints powered by AWS Private Link. Using these endpoints, you can provide a centralized inspection service for all lines of business and enforce an organization-wide security posture. This is done as a bump-in-the-wire solution, meaning that traffic is transparently intercepted without any modifications to the original source or destination. By configuring AWS Gateway Load Balancer as the entry and exit points for internet traffic, north-south traffic flows can be inspected seamlessly at scale. For east-west traffic, an inspection VPC using Gateway Load Balancer endpoints can inspect and secure all inter-VPC communications for both Rise and non-Rise resources. And for securing these networks on AWS, you can also take advantage of open source solutions you've come to trust, third-party providers with state-of-the-art network firewalls and appliances, your own hardware on-premises, or security services provided natively by AWS. In your Rise with SAP account, AWS Network Firewall acts as the first line of defense for your traffic, filtering and inspecting all network traffic to and from Rise resources. AWS Macie discovers and protects sensitive SAP data by using machine learning and pattern matching to automatically identify sensitive data such as personally identifiable information and financial data in your S3 buckets, reducing your risk and helping ensure compliance. And at the heart of SAP's Secure by Default framework sits Amazon Guard Duty, which continuously monitors AWS environments for malicious or unauthorized activities. Amazon Guard Duty utilizes machine learning to deliver real-time threat detection across your workloads in AWS. And all Amazon Guard Duty findings are centralized in an S3 bucket, providing a central repository for security logs across all environments in your organization. And if you've got your networks protected by a third-party provider, there's a good chance we've partnered with them to help you remain protected in the same way you've come to know, in a seamless way on AWS. Here you can see all of the network firewalls, which work natively with our AWS Gateway Load Balancer, allowing you to take advantage of the same security and scalability we built into our own network firewall service. But security isn't just about prevention. It's about visibility and control. Let me show you how you can integrate security incident and event management systems at AWS. Today, teams juggle multiple security tools, each with their own interface and workflow. Our unified platform approach brings everything together in one place, eliminating tool sprawl and reducing your operational complexity. Where teams previously spent hours manually analyzing connections between security signals, we can now automatically correlate signals across threat detection, vulnerabilities, and security findings. This surfaces critical relationships that might otherwise go unnoticed. Instead of security findings in isolation, we can provide enriched context about business impact and risk levels, helping teams understand which issues truly matter to their organization. Rather than spending time determining how to respond, we enable automated response workflows to address critical issues faster and more efficiently. Let me show you how AWS Security Hub delivers on these transformations. Using AWS Security Hub, your threats and vulnerabilities, controls and configurations, and sensitive data are unified in a single pane of glass. This allows you to prioritize those risks which truly matter rather than missing them or spending time sifting through siloed dashboards and logs. Over time, this enables you to monitor trends related to security, helping you understand if your controls are effective at an organizational level. And with resource visibility unified in one place, your teams can respond quickly at scale across all of your environments. AWS Security Hub uses the Open Cybersecurity Schema framework. This enables seamless integration with third-party partners and tools. By reducing the need for data normalization, this allows you to focus on what's important to your organization's security posture. By bringing all of your data and events into one place, you can connect with other tools or native AWS services to supercharge your triage and response protocols. And with the flexibility to choose between all of these options for your Rise and non-Rise workloads, you could build a central hub for connecting and securing your resources, both on-premises and in AWS. Using Rise with SAP on AWS, logs from your SAP and non-SAP workloads are centrally pulled in your security account, where Amazon GuardDuty continuously monitors and inspects for malicious or unauthorized activity. GuardDuty monitors AWS CloudTrail for suspicious API activity across your accounts to detect unauthorized deployments or access attempts to your resources. Using VPC flow logs and DNS logs from Amazon Route 53, GuardDuty analyzes network traffic to detect unexpected patterns, data exfiltration attempts, or unauthorized access using known malicious IP addresses or domains. And with the power of GuardDuty and AWS step functions, you can inspect, analyze, and automatically act on firewall logs from AWS or a third-party provider, allowing you to block traffic to or from suspicious hosts at a moment's notice. For Rise with SAP on AWS, this means early detection of intrusion attempts into your Rise resources, adherence to requirements via compliance validation, and automated incident notifications, response, and remediation using AWS Lambda and AWS Security Hub. Through Project Unify, CSL is experiencing the power of Rise with SAP on AWS using a three-phase approach. First, they conducted a thorough evaluation of their existing SAP infrastructure and identified 3 distinct SAP instances, siloed and disconnected. Together, CSL and AWS performed a lift and shift of existing applications to Rise with SAP, enabling increased agility, flexibility, and reduced TCO. For Phase 2, CSL has plotted a course for change with SAP Signavio running exclusively on AWS. Through a modernization powered by SAP BTP services, CSL will be able to unlock new insights and data lakes and accelerate developer innovation using generative AI. For the third phase, AWS is helping CSL reimagine their business entirely. Through this partnership, AWS and CSL have built a roadmap, including automated document processing and ML-powered forecasting using Amazon SageMaker. CSL has already been able to address its inconsistent data standards and fragmented governance. But this is only the beginning. Mark Hill, the Chief Digital Information Officer at CSL, stated, "We took a step back and decided how we wanted to reinvent CSL. Our goal was to create a robust environment that fosters innovation while keeping things simple, cost-effective, and productive." Through Rise with SAP on AWS, CSL is able to do just that, all without managing any underlying infrastructure. Through the Migration Readiness Accelerator and Migration Support Service, we provide AWS experts who are fully aware of your project's context, offering in-depth guidance on key AWS areas. Our goal is to empower your team, enhancing your ability to succeed on AWS. We leverage real-world experience from prior Rise migrations with best practices that have been refined over time to accelerate them. And by following these best practices, you can avoid common pitfalls that often complicate or slow down migrations. We're keen on emphasizing early identification and escalation of potential risks, allowing for more effective risk management. By addressing these issues early, we help them prevent them from becoming more impactful down the road. During the most crucial moments of your migration, our expert engineers are available, including your go-live events and hypercare periods, providing immediate support for when you need it most. With our unique combination of SAP and AWS expertise, we're able to provide a seamless one-team experience for our customers, focusing on tangible outcomes, mitigated risks, and successful go-lives to ensure smooth transitions for your most critical projects. The ultimate goal is to help you realize the most of your SAP and AWS investments. In review, migrating to Rise with SAP on AWS enables organizations to experience transformational change, connecting them to the innovations of today, such as generative and agentic AI, and future-proofing them for the capabilities of tomorrow. It's important to consider this transformation as more than just a technical change. After all, moving to the cloud is not the goal. Growing the business and moving it forward is. This journey requires modifying the organization's understanding of what the cloud is and why it should be utilized. And it's critical to bring your entire organization together with frequent communication and upskilling where necessary. Through centralized data, tools, configurations, and workflows, decisions become easier and more strategic for your business. Regulatory compliance becomes built into the foundation of resource creation, and proper observability enables hasty remediation. While your goals and aspirations for transforming your business should be ambitious, you don't need to take on everything alone. Our own team of AWS and SAP experts stands ready to help enable your success in this journey from on-premises to cloud, and you can additionally leverage our vast network of SAP competency partners. There's very few reasons to be embarking this journey manually at scale. Leveraging the ecosystem of partners and tools available, you can make data-driven migration decisions in an automated way. And using our proven tools and strategies for migrations to SAP Rise, you'll be well on your way to experiencing this transformation, taking advantage of the paved paths in our experience doing the same for the businesses powering tomorrow. We thank you for spending your time with us today and look forward to supporting you in your transformational journey to AWS. While you're here, please also take the time to check out the following sessions as part of the AWS for SAP at reInvent track. And if you have any questions for us, we and our experts will be out in the hall to have a chat. So thank you for coming and happy reInvent.